Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namaha Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gaurvani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advait Gadadhara Srivasadi Shri Gaur Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So Hare Krishna, dear devotees, dear friends. So in our previous session we read the 16th verse of the second chapter, contents of the Gita summarized, and Lord Shri Krishna explained about Sat Asat. Na sato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate sataha. So he explained about sat and asat, permanent, temporary things, and the conclusion was that the soul is sat, endures, while the body is asat, and it ceases. The body is ever changing. So the words existent and non-existent refers only to spirit and matter. So the next verse, 17th verse, is another very beautiful verse. Lord Shri Krishna, he continues speaking to Arjunji. So in the 17th verse, Lord Shri Krishna says, Avinashi tu tadvidhi yena sarvamidam tatam. Vinasham avyayasya asya na kaschit kartum arhati. Avinashi tu tadvidhi yena sarvamidam tatam. Vinasham avyayasya asya na kaschit kartum arhati. So Avinashi tu tadvidhi yena sarvamidam tatam. Vinasham avyayasya asya na kaschit kartum arhati. Avinashi, imperishable, tu, but, tat, that, vidhi, know it, yena, by whom, sarvam, all of the body, idam, this, tatam, widespread, vinasham, destruction, avyayasya, of the imperishable, asya, of it, na kaschit, no one, kartum, to do, arhati, able. So wonderful verse. Avinashi tu tadvidhi yena sarvamidam tatam. Vinasham avyasya asya na kaschit kartum arhati. Know that which pervades the entire body is indestructible. No one is able to destroy the imperishable soul. Know that which pervades the entire body is indestructible. Avinashi. Yena sarvamidam tatam. That which pervades the entire body. No one is able to destroy. Vinasham avyayasya. Avyayasya. Of the imperishable. No one is able to destroy the imperishable soul. Na kaschit kartum arhati. Nobody is able to destroy. Know that which pervades the entire body is indestructible. No one is able to destroy the imperishable soul. So in the purport, Swami Shrila Prabhupada writes, this verse more clearly explains the real nature of the soul, which is spread all over the body. Anyone can understand what is spread all over the body. It is consciousness. Everyone is conscious of the pains and pleasure of the body, in part or as a whole. This spreading of consciousness is limited within one's own body. The pains and pleasure of one body are unknown to another. Therefore, each and every body is the embodiment of an individual soul. And the symptom of the soul's presence is perceived as individual consciousness. This soul is described as 1/10,000th part of the upper portion of the hair point in size. Thus, The Svetashvatara Upnishad confirms this. Balagra shatabhagasya shatada kalpitasya cha bhago jiva savigyeya sa cha anantyaya kalpate. When the upper point of a hair is divided into 100 parts and again each of such parts is further divided into 100 parts, each such part is a measurement of the dimension of the spirit soul. Similarly, in the Bhagavatam, the same version is stated. Keshagra shatabhagasya shatamsha sadrishatmakaha jiva sushma sarupoyam sankhyatito hi chitkanaha. So there are innumerable particles of spiritual atoms which are measured as 1/10,000th of the upper portion of the hair. Swami Shrila Prabhupada further writes, therefore the individual particle of spirit soul is a spiritual atom smaller than the material atoms, and such atoms are innumerable. This very small spiritual spark is the basic principle of the material body, and the influence of such a spiritual spark is spread all over the body as the influence of the active principle of some medicine spreads throughout the body. This current of the spirit soul is felt all over the body as consciousness, and that is the proof of the presence of the soul. Any layman can understand that the material body minus consciousness is a dead body, and this consciousness cannot be revived in the body by any means of material administration. Therefore, consciousness is not due to any amount of material combination, but to the spirit soul. Therefore, consciousness is not due to any amount of material combination, but to the spirit soul. In the Mundak Upnishad, the measurement of the atomic spirit soul is further explained. Esho anuratma chetasa veditavyo yasmin pranaha panchadha samvivesha pranesha chittam sarvamotam prajanam yasmin vishuddhe vibhavati esha atma. So the soul is atomic in size and can be perceived by perfect intelligence. The atomic soul is floating in the 5 kinds of air, prana, apana, vyana, samana and udana, is situated within the heart and spreads its influence all over the body of the embodied living entities. When the soul is purified from the contamination of the 5 kinds of material air, its spiritual influence is exhibited. The Hatha Yoga system is meant for controlling the 5 kinds of air encircling the pure soul by different kinds of sitting postures, not for any material profit, but for liberation of the minute soul from the entanglement of the material atmosphere. So the constitution of the atomic soul is admitted in all Vedic literatures, and it is also actually felt in the practical experience of any sane man. Only the insane man can think of this atomic soul as all-pervading Vishnu Tattva. So the influence of the atomic soul can be spread all over a particular body. According to the Mundak Upnishad, the atomic soul is situated in the heart of every living entity, and because the measurement of the atomic soul is beyond the power of appreciation of the material scientists, some of them assert foolishly that there is no soul. The individual atomic soul is definitely there in the heart along with the supersoul, and thus all the energies of the bodily movement are emanating from this part of the body. The corpuscles which carry the oxygen from the lungs gather energy from the soul. When the soul passes away from this position, activity of the blood generating fusion ceases. Medical science accepts the importance of the red corpuscles, but it cannot ascertain that the source of the energy is the soul. Medical science, however, does not admit that the heart is the seat of all energies of the body. Such atomic particles of the spirit whole are compared to the sunshine molecules. In the sunshine, there are innumerable radiant molecules. Similarly, the fragmental parts of the Supreme Lord are atomic sparks of the rays of the Supreme Lord, called by the name prabha or superior energy. So neither Vedic knowledge nor modern science denies the existence of the spirit soul in the body, and the science of the soul is explicitly described in the Bhagavad Gita by the personality of Godhead himself. So wonderful verse, and so much knowledge, my God. Most of the people, they think that Vedas are some fictitious literatures, but so much knowledge and so perfect knowledge. Balagara shatabhagasya shatada kalpitasya cha. So wonderfully, Lord Shri Krishna here he is explaining. In the previous verse, he explained that the soul is Sat, and in this verse, he is clearly explaining the real nature of the soul. Nature and the property. Swami Shrila Prabhupada begins the purport. This verse more clearly explains the real nature of the soul, which is spread all over the body. So, know that which pervades the entire body is indestructible, avinashi, indestructible. Na kaschit kartum arhati, no one is able to destroy. No one is able to destroy that avyasya, asya, of it, avyasya, of the imperishable. So wonderfully, Lord Shri Krishna here is explaining about the real person or the fragmental parts of the Supreme Being, of the super soul, the soul which pervades the entire body, or the influence of the soul which pervades the entire body. That soul is indestructible. No one is able to destroy that imperishable soul. It is not perishable, it is not destructible, and no one is able to destroy that imperishable soul. So wonderful verse. And Swami Shrila Prabhupada is writing, anyone can understand what is spread all over the body. It is consciousness. So the influence of the soul is spread all over the body, and that soul is the soul or the living person or the living force is very, very minute. It is explained in the Upanishads. Balagra shatabhagasya shatada kalpitasya cha bhago jiv sabhigyeya sacha anantyaya kalpate. When the upper point of the hair is divided into 100 parts, and again when the upper point of the hair when the upper point of the hair is divided into 100 parts, and then each such part is further divided into 100 parts, such part is the measurement of the dimension of the spirit soul. So 1/10,000th part of the tip of point of the hair, upper point of the hair. So one can understand, and that's why Swami Shrila Prabhupada is writing, individual particle of the spirit soul is a spiritual atom smaller than the material atom. So it is very, very minute. The soul, the living spark, or living force. It is very subtle. And Keshagra Shatabhagasya, another place in the scriptures it is said, same thing, Keshagra Shatabhagasya Shatamsha Shadrishatmakaha Jiva Sushma Swarupoyam, very Sushma. Ayam Sankhya Atito hi Chitkanaha. So in the measurement it is very Chitkanaha, atomic. There are innumerable particles, Sankhya Tito of spiritual atoms which are measured as 1/10,000th of the upper portion of the hair. So the living force, Swami Srila Prabhupada is writing that its influence is spread all over the body. Anyone can understand what is spread all over the body, it is consciousness. And everyone is conscious of the pains and pleasure of the body in part or as a whole. Every living being, every individual soul is conscious of the pain and pleasure of body. And it is limited within one's own body. The spreading of consciousness is limited within one's own body. The pains and pleasure of one body are unknown to another. Nobody knows what is going inside, what pain and pleasure. What I am feeling, the other cannot experience that. Even if I explain verbally or verbally or in some other way to other, but still the experience through which one individual person or the soul goes through in a particular body cannot be experienced by another person in another body. So every individual soul, therefore each and every body, Swami Srila Prabhupada is writing, is the embodiment of an individual soul. Each and every body is the embodiment of an individual soul, and the symptoms of the soul's presence is perceived as individual consciousness. And every living entity, every living being every individual soul has got an individual consciousness, a different consciousness which is different from others. Each and every body is an embodiment of individual soul, and the symptoms of soul presence is perceived as individual consciousness. This soul is described as 1/10,000th part of the upper portion of the hair point in size. And in the size, that soul is very, very Sushma. So in the Mundak Upnishad, it is said, the soul is atomic in size and can be perceived by perfect intelligence. Esho anuratma chetasa veditabhyo yasmin prana panchada samvivesha. The atomic soul is floating in 5 kinds of air. So explicit explanation. The atomic soul is floating in 5 kinds of air. Very particularly in bracket, Swami Srila Prabhupada explains prana, apana. All these descriptions are there in the scriptures. Prana, apana, vayana, samana and udana is situated within the heart. Anti-situated prane se chittam sarvam otam prajanam yasmin vishuddhe vibhavati esha atma is situated within the heart and spreads its influence all over the body of the embodied living entities. The soul is situated in the region of the heart And Swami Shrila Prabhupada writes, soul and the supersoul both are situated in the region of the heart. And we get the explanation from the Bhagavad Gita and other scriptures. In the previous verses also we saw. And its influence is spread all over the body of the embodied living entity. The living entity or the living being who is embodied, who is in the body, who has got a body embodied. So the embodied living entity, the soul, its influence as consciousness is spread all over the body. And the soul is floating in 5 kinds of air. Prana, apana, vayana. Yasmin pranaha panchadha samviveshaha. Yasmin pranaha panchadha samviveshaha. Pranesha chittam sarvamotam prajanam yasmin vishuddhe. And when the soul is purified from the contamination of the 5 kinds of material air, these airs are material. And when the soul is purified from the contamination of the 5 kinds of material air, its spiritual influence is exhibited. So at the present moment, because the soul is floating in 5 kinds of material air, prana, apana, vayana, samana, udana, so the soul is not able to exhibit its spiritual influence. And in ignorance, the soul is exhibiting its material influence. But when the soul is purified, yasmin vishuddhe vibhavati esha atma, when the soul is purified from the contamination of the 5 kinds of material air, when the soul is purified from the contamination of 5 kinds of material air, its spiritual influence is exhibited. At that time, its spiritual influence is exhibited. And Swami Shrila Prabhupada writes, the Hatha Yoga system was meant for controlling the 5 kinds of air. People in this age, they think that in the Hatha Yoga system, by different kinds of sitting postures, they are meant for some good health, for the upkeep of the body, for maintaining good health. But actually the Hatha Yoga system is meant for controlling the 5 kinds of the air encircling the pure soul by different kinds of sitting postures, not for any material profit, but for liberation of the minute soul from the entanglement of the material atmosphere. So Hatha Yoga system or any yoga system, yoga means linking, was actually meant for linking the soul. Again, as in the previous verse, Swami Shrila Prabhupada explained, re-establishing one's relationship with the Supreme. So Hatha Yoga system or any yoga system was actually meant for the liberation of the minute soul from the entanglement of the material atmosphere. So any layman, Swami Srila Prabhupada says, wonderful analogy or wonderful example Swami Srila Prabhupada takes. This very small spiritual spark is the basic principle of the material body, and the influence of such a spiritual spark is spread all over the body as the influence of the active principles. This very small spiritual spark is the basic principle of the material body, and the influence of such a spiritual spark is spread all over the body as the influence of the active principle of some medicine spreads throughout the body. So a small medicine, if one takes, then its influence is spread all over the body, is experienced, its influence spread throughout the body and is experienced throughout the body. If there is some pain in the body and if one takes a small painkiller, then immediately one gets relief, and the small medicine's influence is spread all over the body. So Swami Srila Prabhupada is writing, this very small spiritual spark is the basic principle of material body, And the influence of such a spiritual spark is spread all over the body, as the influence of active principle of some medicine spreads throughout the body. So this current of the spirit soul is felt all over the body as consciousness, and that influence which is spread all across the body is consciousness. This current of the spirit soul, Swami Shrila Prabhupada writes, this current of the spirit soul is felt all over the body as consciousness. Any layman can. That is the proof of the presence of the soul. Any layman can understand that the material body minus consciousness is a dead body. So all of us have experienced. And Swami Srila Prabhupada writes, any amount of material administration. So if there is no consciousness in the body, then the body is a dead body. When a person dies, then the body shows no symptoms of consciousness. And Swami Srila Prabhupada here is writing, any body minus consciousness. Any layman can understand that the material body minus consciousness. If we remove consciousness from the body, then it is a dead body. And this consciousness cannot be revived in the body by any means of material administration. So by any means of material administration, nobody can bring back the consciousness in a dead body. When a person dies, when a person is dead, so we dispose the body. Either we burn it or we bury it. But by any amount of or by any material administration, Swami Srila Prabhupada is very clearly, so wonderfully, he is explaining, it cannot be revived. When the consciousness goes away, when the soul passes the body, or the body is dead, when a person is dead, one cannot bring back the consciousness in the body by any means of material administration. If someone says, by giving anything to the body, by injecting anything, any vitamin, protein, carbohydrate or heat or light or anything, any material administration, one cannot bring back the consciousness of a dead body. So that is the proof of the soul. Swami Srila Prabhupada wonderfully explains, that is the proof of the presence of the soul. This current of the spirit soul is felt all over the body as consciousness, and that is the proof of the presence of the soul. Consciousness is not due to any amount of material combination, but to the spirit soul. So consciousness in the body, the consciousness which pervades the entire body, it is not due to any amount of material combination. So in the past, scientists have tried to understand, and they proposed from time to time, we saw many theories that life is sometimes chemical evolution theory, this theory, that theory. But truly speaking, and that's why no such theories or hypothesis can actually explain what the scriptures are explaining so wonderfully. Esha vanuratma chetasa veditavyo yasmin prana panchada samviveshaha प्राणेश चित्तम सर्वमोतम प्रजानाम यस्मिन् विशुद्धे विभवति एषा आत्मा बालागर शतभागस्य शतता कल्पितस्य च भागो जीव सविज्ञेय स च अनन्त्याय कल्पते केशाग्र शतभागस्य शतांश सादृशात्मकः जीव सूक्ष्म स्वरूपोऽयं संख्यातीतो हि चित्कणः. So wonderful explanation. And people think what is there in the scriptures, and Vedic literatures. But it is not possible at the present moment, it is not possible for all of us to understand because we do not have that much time. And Manda Sumanda Matayo Manda Bhagya in the Kali Yuga. And for that reason only Lord Shri Krishna is summarizing, actually. He is giving the essence of all Vedic literature, and that's what Swami Shrila Prabhupada writes. The science of the soul is explicitly described in the Bhagavad Gita by the personality of Godhead himself. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna, he is explicitly describing the science of the soul, the essence of all the Vedic literature, the science of soul, supersoul, nature, karma, and time, kala, the time factor. So all these wonderful explanations are given by the Supreme Personality himself in the Bhagavad Gita for the benefit of the entire humanity. So the constitution of atomic soul is admitted in all the Vedic literature, and it is also actually felt in the practical experience of any sane man. So many people, they say that the soul is as good as the supreme soul, supreme being, but we are not able to feel, we are only able to, the soul is only limited, the influence of the soul is limited only to a particular body, and no one is able to experience what is going in another body, what to speak of what is going in the entire universe or entire creation. So the influence of the tiny atomic soul is spread only to a particular body. But many people, they think that the soul is as good as super soul, or the all-pervading Paramatma or Vishnu. So Swami Shrila Prabhupada here, he writes, only the insane man can think of this atomic soul as all-pervading Vishnu Tattva. So it is different, Vishnu Tattva. And in the previous verses, in the purport, Swami Srila Prabhupada explained, giving various references from the Vedic literatures, Anu and Vibhu. The difference between soul and the super soul is experienced as Anu and Vibhu, as fragments and as whole. The Supreme Lord is complete Purna, and the living entities, they are Anshaha. And it is so wonderfully here it is explained how every living entity is a spiritual atom. And Swami Srila Prabhupada, he says it is more smaller spiritual